Right, I'm going to go off the Ripper thing at the moment, the Ripper murders, and I still believe this is connected, even though you don't think so, but I believe it is. So I'm going to go on to the Zodiac murders just for something different to do for a little while, because it's been coming up on my feed a bit. So 68, 69, possibly 66, murdered at the lakesides. Now, this is just a theory, obviously, and it is that one of them was thought, on one of the crime scenes, they actually thought they maybe have known the person that was coming for them. I think that's possible, but it sounds really strange. Could they have been younger than 17, even 12? Now, that sounds crazy, but could they have? They were from the Vallejo area, this person that I'm talking about. Vietnam was on the go at the time, or it was around about that time. What I think happened was the name of the crime, the Zodiac, was an inflatable boat, and it was used by special forces in Vietnam. Now, I haven't totally looked in to the reason why. It's not a workplace thing, and it might be a young boy's imagination. He could have been bullied, who knows? But I think his dad was special forces. And whether he'd been bullied or not, or he thought he'd been bullied and he was back from Vietnam, his head was possibly messed up, his dad's head was possibly messed up, come back and told him a story about what had happened at school. We don't know whether he was humiliated or they were against the Vietnam War. But he brought home his inflatable boat that they used, and on the boat it was called the Zodiac. The name of the boat was Zodiac. And I think the boy come out the woods first, so they pulled up at the lakeside. The boy come out the woods, no threat there. He had a gun. What was he hunting? No. Yeah, and probably never thought out of it because he was so young, 12. And that's where the shot come in. And I think the first one, he got 2 shots off. The other ones were stabbed. No, I think that was his dad. They got them. So, as time went on, he might have got a job. And this boy could still be alive today. I think it'd have been about 50, be about 70, if I had to think of the person I'm thinking of. Now, I think he was a police officer, and he joined the police. So yeah, had access, probably had some kind of access to the information and some of the evidence, even the evidence locker. But I mean, if anything ever went missing or he needed to change anything, he could have done it. But I think it was a cover-up because his father was in the military. So that was a connection with the police again, with my theory and the Ripper as well. The taxi driver that was killed, there was a piece of shirt found in his taxi. That was to corroborate him. That's to fit him to the crime. He had to be part of the crime, but he was a taxi driver and he was shot in the middle of the street. So to make that right, he had to be, he had to show that it was connected to the crime. So he took a torn piece of shirt. Now, whether the taxi driver had seen them or come up with an idea, it could have been them. I could have parked on the roadside and passed the car. Got the lal boat out and went off onto the lake and come in from the lake. And then they get away from the lake. There's no evidence there. There's nothing. You just automatically think they come out the bushes and well, they would have come out the bushes or wherever they come from, but they didn't arrive in a car. So, and the other people had a car. Now, I believe the Zodiac murders are still happening today, but we don't realise it because he's got a different MO. Now, his dad's probably dead by now, if he's 70. And it's just a theory. I watched a missing person thing on a man in Canada, and this will give me the idea. His boat, his little boat, was a Zodiac. Now he went missing. I think he was onto it. He knew. He fired 2 shots into a car, and I think that car was driving into a kill zone. So for me, I feel like the man that went missing was a hero, because there was 3 shots fired that day, and I think the 3rd one got him. Yeah, and he was a hunter. Now I think he was called Raymond Selleck, and it's just a theory. I think he was a brave man. He was working out what was going on, and if he'd have shot in that car, he'd have got his target. If it was the person he was after, he was warning them, don't come in this area because there's someone out to get you. Now, he was a Bigfoot hunter, and I think his wife's still alive, so I hope I don't upset her or anything with what I'm saying. But I think he was a very brave man. I think his crime scene was staged. I think the fact that his dogs were locked in his van meant that somebody could have drove that van there and walked away. The dogs didn't pick up his scent because he was never there. He wasn't in there that day. He was somewhere else. But he spotted something, and I think he was investigating, and they took him out. What was interesting about that was the military were involved in searching for him, and some of his friends wanted to go and look in an area and they weren't allowed. Now I think that's where he maybe was. They found his pistol, which I think he shot at with the car. Took out the headlights. He didn't harm anybody. He basically stopped them from going into a kill zone, and unfortunately, I think maybe the 3rd shot fired, sadly, got him. But when he took a photograph of the boat, his little blow boat, he was sending a message. I think he was sending a message because the photograph was of him with an inflatable boat that they used in Vietnam called the Zodiac. And that's the connection. Now there's a lot of missing people. There's books wrote on it. Yeah. What's the name of the writer? Yeah. Anyhow, that's another theory, but that's taken me away from the Ripper one. And the last thing on the Crippin, when I mentioned Tom Letty in prison, and his accomplice being Dr. Crippin, somebody paid £45,000 in today's money, knowing that he would run. Now, in Dr. Crippin's case, it's my theory that his wife was involved, and she got paid Now, if somebody can pay 45, and it was actually double that in another chat box, it was £300 in the day, and it said, or up to 600. Well, if you double that, you've got 90. Now, if they're prepared to pay £90,000 in equivalent of today's money for somebody to keep their mouth shut, there's many a person would take that £90,000. So his wife, for me, could have been offered a similar amount or even more. That's why I think her disappearance is significant. Nobody ever looked for her. But them body parts were supposed to be her, but they weren't, they were off a man. So that's 100% staged crime scene. Or he did not put them there. That's one thing for sure, because he presumed from his wife and she'd been murdered. So that's my staged crime scene, and the money, I'm putting that in my book. But yeah, the Ripper and the taxi driver in the Zodiac case is interesting because there is similarities. There's military involvement. I'm thinking now on the side of espionage. My story is going to be, it's not just going to be a murder, it's going to be espionage. So, on Her Majesty's Secret Service, at the time, maybe. So with that, I'm going to try and switch this off again. Okay, thank you.